The following podcast is brought to you by Cast Content Media.
Hey guys, it's Ron Worley, your most imperfect host of Sons of Ditches. People are liars, thieves, addicts, and assholes. Some people change, and a few make a difference. But everyone has a story. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Sons of Ditches. This week, I've got a very special guest, and you can already see her because I didn't change the screen. Donna, say your last name.
You did it anyway.
I did it anyway.
Donna Tashjian.
Tashjian. This is so bad. Donna Tashjian is our very special guest this week. She is a life mastery coach and inspirational speaker, podcast host of You Were Designed for Greatness, ordained minister, and author. And she also is an amazing guest. Here we go. Donna, how are you today?
I am doing awesome. How are you?
I'm good. Boy, your title, you do a lot.
I do have titles. I didn't ever try to collect them, though. They just kind of happened. Yes, I do have titles.
Well, very good. So tell us a little bit about what you've got into life coaching. I notice it's mostly women. Tell us a little bit how you got into that.
Well, one of my focuses really goes along with your story as well, is overcoming adversity. Yeah. And every coach I've ever met that coaches on a subject usually overcame it. It's right. Part of their story. And so my main program, starting program is called Turning Your Baggage into Luggage. So nice. Then you can create the life you've always dreamed. So for a little bit, if I can, I'm going to tell you about my baggage.
Yeah, please.
So that you can get a picture of who you heard all of my great titles now. I've been married next week, 37 years. I have 3 married children and 8 grandchildren. So
congratulations.
And life is good, but let's start when it wasn't. Let's start with the baggage and when it wasn't so good. I grew up in a blended family. Did never really know my biological father. And so my new father actually became my daddy, and he was a good part of my story. But at the age of 14, the blended family was a bit rough. I'll just put it that way. And at the age of 14, one of our family members hurt me and I became pregnant.
Oh, no.
And we were talking quite a few years back. So in those days, at least, grew up in, there's a difference to me between faith and religion.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Religion is rules and restrictions, and you never are good enough.
Right.
And that's kind of what I grew up in.
Okay.
So add that to a teenage pregnancy and the shame associated with all of that. It was not a pretty picture. To say it was hard doesn't even cut it.
No, you are. So let me get this straight. You are how old?
14.
14, and a family member got you pregnant.
Yes.
Unwillingly, of course.
Yes.
They hurt you. Okay. And you are feeling shame at this point.
Yes.
Really? Okay. Continue. Sorry.
I know. Ask whatever questions you want. And embarrassment and the end of, what every teenage girl's dreams, going to proms and going to football games and all of that was, and even graduating high school was a challenge, which I did do. But all of that, I'm 15 when she's born. I raised her, by the way, and she's amazing. But I'm 15 and she's born. I'm 18 with a 3-year-old. Where were you at 18? Just kind of giving you a picture of, right. I was working full time, living on my own and going to school 2 nights a week and raising her. That's what I was doing at 18. Mm-hmm. And the secret that it's not really a secret because I tell it, what got me through is I didn't have religion. I had a relationship with God. And sometimes that was all I had, because there really wasn't support, real support anywhere else. So that's where I started. And low self-esteem, feeling unworthy, unlovable, all of that, which, when you look back at your teenage self, it's like, you were not ugly, you were beautiful. It's like all of those kind of things. But that's not the way I felt.
Your childhood was stripped from you at 14.
Yes, it was.
And how old was the offender?
I don't want to go into that part.
Okay. No problem. But you're feeling all of the consequences of this thing that you could not control.
Correct.
Okay. That's terrible. And so at 18, are you out on your own, or are you still at the family's house?
No, at that point I had moved out on my own, and I had an apartment. So I did have a place to live. So all of that was, I wasn't homeless, which could have made it worse. It could always have been worse, but it wasn't great. So learning how to overcome all of that. And as I went on and my responsibilities began to match my age, it felt better. I remember that was one of my dreams. I can't wait till I'm old enough to match the level of my responsibilities that I feel like I fit in.
Right.
That really never happened, though, because, I would be around 20-year-olds and they're finishing college.
Yeah. Right.
So it never really did happen.
Right.
So I am in my 50s now, and my daughter is in her 40s.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Holy cow. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah. I guess
so,
that's true.
It just gives you a picture of the concept of it all. And, it's a little startling when you think about it like that.
Well,
so
and you're helping me understand, just so you know, you're helping me understand my mother's situation as well. She was 15 when she got pregnant, 16 when she had me. And so I'm getting a little bit of because she's never really talked about what that felt like. So thank you. Keep going.
It is hard. It took me a while to be visible with it, as I'm doing now. Mm-hmm. But the more that I told my story, the more women go, yes. And then you can understand with my story now why it's mostly women.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But one of the things, you want to learn some things that I've learned to be able to get through it.
Mm-hmm. Let's
and
do it.
one of the keys that I've learned is, I call it building your understanding muscle or superpower. And it's the mindset that no matter what happens to you, that you can learn and grow from it or through it. Sure. So it's just a little different way of saying it. Baggage thinking is why did this happen? That's those why questions. Yep. Those why questions will hold you in the pain and in that baggage more than any other question is why. Because we never seem to get a good enough answer of why.
Right.
And then saying it's not fair, it's not just, it's not right. Somebody needs to pay. I jokingly, you may have heard there's a scripture that says, vengeance is mine, says, Lord, it says that. But there's also the scriptures talking about, God use me. So I know vengeance is yours, Lord, but if you want a hand on the earth here, use me.
Right. I love it.
And we felt like that when we've been wronged, when things have gone wrong, you have those emotions. It's part of it. And then we just drag that around with us.
Right.
So luggage thinking is I can't change it. I can't change the past. I may never understand, but I'm going to be the best me I can be. I'm going to learn and grow and learn how to help others that have been encountering different situations or similar.
Yeah.
I call it gifts wrapped in sandpaper.
I love it. And also by helping others, you really help yourself.
Yes, every time.
Yeah, totally.
Every time. So I have 4 steps for building this. I give steps in all the things I do. And number 1 is look for the gift. the action of looking for the gift lifts your eyes off of yourself and going, something is going to get better somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 2 is keeping a bigger picture in mind. Lift your eyes up and say, this is not going to be my whole book. I'm not going to let this ruin my whole life.
That's right.
This will be a chapter in my book, not my whole book. And number 3, which I can do a whole bunch of time on, is compassion and forgiveness. Without that component, you stay in the baggage. There is no way to be free without some form of forgiveness and getting help. We can only do so much, but we weren't meant to do these kind of things alone. And so when my transformation really began to occur is when I got help. So.
Okay. Yeah. And so there's an old saying that how does that go? Forgiveness is, or what is it? How's it go? Where they drink the poison?
Yes.
You drink the poison.
Unforgiveness is drinking poison and thinking the other person will die.
There you go.
Yes. I say that a lot. So
yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Step 4.
And then step 4 was getting support. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So those are the 4 for that. And if you just focus on that, I have other steps, but if you focus on that and quit asking why, it will transform and begin to move your life forward.
So basically you're just telling people, take your luggage, let's call it a gift, and let's stop wallowing in it, let it go, and move on with life. And
well, if I was talking to a man, yeah, I'd say it like that.
Well, there you go.
Exactly like that.
I don't know my men to women ratio, but now we got them both out there.
So yeah, that was perfect.
Yeah, good deal. Just lift the hood up, change the oil, and get down the road.
Let's get going.
Oh my gosh, that is funny. Okay. So you've got these great 4 steps. Now, I just wonder myself, how much support have you had to turn to? Have you had to go to professional support, like counselors and psychologists and things for your issues over the years, or to get over some of them?
I didn't seek professional help, but I did have a lot of resources that were more found in nonprofit organizations.
Oh, good.
Was more my resource. And in all actuality, a lot of it was my relationship with God in reading his word. That was huge for me. It isn't everybody's story, but it's my story.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And so can a person, I'm going to say person, but mostly female, come to you and need help? Or would you prefer them to, it's probably different for everybody, but have had some professional help or a certain area in life they've gotten to? You'll take them all.
Take them all. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where they are. If for some reason I'm not a good fit, then we'll find the resources for them. But I'm a good starting place for them to be able to find out. I don't know where to go from here. Right. I don't know who to talk to. Or the other component is I've been in counseling for years and I'm not getting better. Right. And that's another component. Yeah. That happens a lot. So anywhere in between, and nobody is too difficult. Nothing, sure. No situation is too hard.
That is awesome. And so personally, I did 5 years of, I call it intensive outpatient. I saw a counselor at least once a week for 5 years, but at first I was twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. And then we got to a point where it was like I was wallowing in it. I just kept hanging on to these problems for a week so that I could come in and have something to talk about. But it was really, really, really super helpful right when I was getting my act together, right when I decided to make the life change, get sober, do these kind of things. That was super helpful. I got a couple years in there where it was very beneficial. And then I spent a couple more years just kind of wallowing in it. So I can see your point of your man point of not wallowing in it.
Well, it's true for women as well, because we wallow as well. I call it my pity party for one. Um, and we do that too. I just say it a little different.
Sure.
Just say it a little different. The other thing is, one of my clients have said, I asked them, I'm like, you're getting results with me. You didn't with counseling for years. Why? What's the difference?
Right.
And one of the differences, she said, is that my counselor gave me coping mechanisms to deal with my problems because it was anxiety, depression, and other behaviors that needed to be dealt with. And she said, you don't give me coping mechanisms. You teach me how to destroy the mountains, to destroy the obstacles so that I can actually create the life I want.
Bingo.
So I'm not going to help you go around your mountain, if you will, and pay homage to it.
Right. We're going to go through it, go over it. So what's your take on, just very curious is all. So there's no right answer, of course. What's your take on all the labels that we're putting on our children, we're putting on our adulthoods? We've got ADD, we've got anxiety, we've got depression, we've got the numerous, and a lot of them are either misdiagnosed or undiagnosed or diagnosed, and they all are in it. What's your take on all of that professionally?
Two different perspectives that I hold, and they're not in opposition to each other. In some respects, our nutritional health has created these things.
Yes.
Because our food is not the same. Just to put it as simply as, our food is not the same. Your gut health determines your emotional and brain health. Yep. But the thing is we're addressing the behavior and not the cause.
Right.
So the cause is ultimately, if you change your gut health, your emotional health, your biology will change when you change your food and the way your gut health is. So that's one thing. So one of it is it's identifying a problem that is real. The labels, the things that are occurring. I mean, when I was a child, autism wasn't a thing.
Right. Exactly.
And why is it rampant? Well, that's a whole nother can of worms we won't go into. But I have a granddaughter who is labeled, diagnosed autistic. So I have personal experience in that field. So that's one spec. The other thing is that this is one of my soapboxes, especially about any type of mental health, and those is when we make those things part of my identity. So let me do this. I don't say I am cancer.
Right.
But I say I am depressed.
Right.
I am, whatever mental diagnosis you want to say.
Yes.
But our mental health can be changed by the words we speak and what we believe, which has been proven also. So that's the thing that I have trouble is that the medical community is taught that it isn't recoverable from.
Yes.
You have this, you always will have this.
Right.
I am here to say that is a lie.
Yep.
That is a lie. Everything is possible to recover. There is healing for everything. My granddaughter is an example of that. And there is a way out of it. You are not given hope, you are given medicine.
Yes.
And all the medicine does is mask the problem.
Amen.
So that's my soapbox on that.
I love your soapbox. I love it a lot. So I went into one of my friends is a SPED teacher here locally. I went in to help him. And what I expected to see was from my day, special ed kids and what those kids would look like. What I did see was a bunch of normal kids. Only difference is when I spoke to them, I was there to interview them as a business owner, and they were doing interviews to get jobs to practice. And what I was getting was a kid that would sit down and say, sorry, bear with me. I have this, that, the other. I suffer from depression, anxiety. I'm ADD. I'm ADHD. And they were labeling themselves and coming to me with the label.
Right.
And as if it was their
limitations.
It was their limitations, and they were defined by it, and they were absolutely stuck behind it.
Yep.
And I feel like that's what the school and the doctors had done to them.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
for them to even be in special ed was just most of it was ridiculous. They were learning the very same things everybody else was learning. They were just doing it in a separate classroom. And it,
Yep.
I'm sure there's behavioral stuff, but man, it just seemed like they were being labeled for life. And,
Well, a lot of little boys who are too early for them to be in school are labeled this because they can't sit still.
right.
So teach them in motion. It doesn't have to. I mean, why is our learning they have to sit still for 8 hours
Absolutely.
or whatever it is? So, but let's just drug them so they'll sit still for that period of time and stay in video games and never get out and play. And then never mind that's just the whole.
I know. We could go on for hours on that whole mess. Oh my gosh. Well, so, and to your point, and my audience already knows this, 5 years ago, I suffered massive heart failure. I was in the epitome of shape. I was in great shape and I did not eat wrong. I ate great. And the only thing I did was drink too much caffeine. I was highly stressed out from too much work. Immediately I had to go on meds to get me to a point where I could just get up out of bed. It was all great and fine, but I wasn't getting better. And they were just treating my symptoms. They weren't figuring out what was wrong. They kept labeling things and diagnosing things, but they never really knew what had caused it or how I could fix it. There was no fix. It was take these medicines. I found a holistic doctor, and in 2 weeks, he healed my heart 65% higher than it was the day I met him. And he did that through proper nutrition. We did a cleanse and cleaned out all my blood of metals and bacteria. And then just like a muscle, the muscle was able to grow back because the cells were healthy. So I think you're 100% on the money there. And it's an epidemic. That's the true epidemic in our country.
There is a true epidemic regarding our health issues and the way that they're being treated. Absolutely. I completely agree. Completely agree with you.
So you have a granddaughter that is or has been diagnosed.
Yes, she was diagnosed around 2 years old, I think. She's now 10.
Okay.
And when she was it 2 years ago, I think it was, maybe 3, more like, I don't know. I lose track of time. She was in a school for autistic kids, and they did her test again. And I believe it was, there's 10 markers and she only scored 3 on them.
Oh, wow.
And the doctor said it wasn't possible. So they said she could go to mainstream school. She's being homeschooled, but, she could go to mainstream school. She didn't, because she was being held back by children who couldn't speak, and she could carry on a conversation. And what we changed was her health, and had her changed and treated by a holistic doctor as well.
Oh, wow.
And everything restored.
Man, that's just amazing to me. My friend has a low functioning autistic son, and boy, he's a sweetheart, but he's very low functioning. There's very little audio and things like that. So there's that side of it. And, but it seems like, again, we label them and that we stick them in this group, and that's where everybody goes. So good for you.
And it wasn't easy. I mean, her name is Sadie. She didn't want to eat the food that was good for her.
Oh, right.
At that age, but she didn't have a choice. Mom got it in her. And mom got it in her one way or the other, and eliminated gluten and a lot of the things that are harmful to us today, because our wheat is not the same.
Right.
But learning how to overcome adversity, to circle back to the original question you had, is it whatever label you want to put on yourself?
Yeah.
It is almost always limiting unless it came from God.
Oh.
And so let's look at the person, calling him a person, who created you, as opposed to society and the world system, which is really broken.
Yes.
On what? And we have defined ourselves by our circumstances,
right,
rather than, or our health, those kinds of things, the things that are happening to us, as opposed to. So anytime I create a label that says you're beautiful, you can do all things, anything is possible. Impossibility, that's a joke. Everything's possible.
Everything.
And when you start putting those kind of labels on you, it's it pulls you forward.
Sure.
So it's just depending upon whatever you say, I am following is going to define whether we stay in our baggage or we're really fulfilling why we're here on the earth and having better relationships and a new sense of belonging and purpose that a lot of us are missing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we also get, speaking to your life, probably, we get super busy that we dull all that stuff and we don't actually even process that so that I can be the best me.
Absolutely. You go, girl. Good gosh. Woo, I got the chills here. And I love that you put God into your life and everything you do, it sounds like. So, that's another thing that's being taken away from us these days, and it's out of everything.
It can't really be taken away, but it is definitely, there is an attack against what God means. But he's big enough. We don't have to defend him.
That's true. It's true. So do we defend ourselves? I guess that is a real question. So in a situation like that, do you defend yourself? Or do we?
Well, I had somebody who wanted to join my Vibrant Women Facebook group, and she said, I see you're a minister. I don't want to have anything to do with religion. And I'm like, well, neither do I.
Yeah.
But she goes, this group's not for me. And I said, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be.
Right.
But one of it was Lent or something. And one of my husband's coworkers said, so are you religious? Because he went to church a lot. And he goes, God, I hope not. So I'm not big on religion, but I do, but God wants a relationship, and Absolutely. He's there for us in whatever capacity we want. This is my story. It may not be all of you who are listening, but he's still there.
Yes, absolutely. And your story is amazing. And I'm so happy you came on just even the 4 steps is going to be helpful to everybody. I love it. Guys, if you want just a really neat person to talk to, you get a hold of our friend Donna. And Donna, can you tell us where we can find you, your website, your book, all that good fun stuff? My
website is vibrantliving.com. I'll say it one more time. It's vibrantliving.com. My name will be in the show notes, and I'm on all the social media. You can find me there as well and message me. There is a complimentary consultation if you want to talk and go a little deeper in finding resources that are available for you, whether I'm it or whatever it may be, but I'd love to help. And then on my homepage, there is a free book, and it's called An Umbrella on a Sunny Day. It's more of my story that I began to share today, a little bit deeper into that, and more tips and tools to be able to move forward when we're going through difficult times. The title came from when we have gone through painful past or disappointments in our life, we often prepare for the worst to happen, even when the sun is shining. So it's sunny out today, but I know it's going to rain. It's my luck. It always rains on me. So I need to grab my umbrella. That's where the book came from. The title came from.
Love it.
Waiting for the other shoe to drop. That kind of mindset steals our joy. We can't even enjoy life when it's good because I'm expecting bad. And unfortunately, we do get what we put our expectation.
That is so true. And you know what? Now I get the whole luggage baggage thing, because that is one of those things you got to let go, because yes, things have happened to us bad in our lives, but it doesn't always have to. Good for you, man. I think we'll call that also your lasting wisdom. Donna, you are very welcome on this show. Anytime you want to come on, I would love to talk to you more. You know, it's only a half hour, and I know that sucks, guys. We're going to try and get it to be longer so that we can continue to have people like Donna on longer. Donna, thank you so much for coming on.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you for tuning in to Sons of Ditches. For more information, go to my website,
ronworley.com, and my YouTube channel, Sons of Ditches. Facebook, Ron L. Worley, or Instagram at Ronald L. Worley II.